Welcome back to another community tier list. Today we've all come together to vote on the best traps in the game. If you would like to vote as well and you're watching this after the stream, there will be a link down below to like a permanent tier list or something. I'll try to set it up. If it's not there, then I failed or forgot. Leave a comment, I guess, or look for another comment so I don't get spammed. But my point is it should be down there. That's what I'm hoping for. I want to make a disclaimer that I make in every single one of these. We have people of all skill levels and all experience levels watching this broadcast, and the voting criteria for every person will vary. Some people vote on aesthetics and usability. I think we're going for general viability here. I'm hoping that's what we go with, but I'll be commentating as we go along so that if there's any confusion, I'll clear it up as we go. That being said, looks like everybody in chat is ready. Let's start with the anti-air trap. So, anti-air trap is essential for stopping lobbers from smashing your base. It will do little to no damage towards flinger targets, so it's not really a damage trap. You should literally never run a damage perk on this. It's not worth it. It won't help. S tier is, again, I need to figure out personally what I'm voting for here. Like, S tier in my mind is like an essential trap. You should never skip out on using this. It will help you in every mission. A tier is mostly useful, and I think I'm just going to go on from there. I don't know if it's public yet, but I have recorded an updated traps tier list, so I'm going to have to sort of call back to whatever I went with last time in that mentality. Wall lights is a great example. This trap, in my opinion, is completely obsolete to the floor freeze. It's got an older picture here. Archer and I, we should have fixed these before I recorded this. Doesn't matter. We know what it is. It's completely obsolete in my opinion. You have some excellent wall trap options. We'll be talking about them throughout this video. It will work. B tier is perfectly fine. It will be a functional trap that will help stall enemies in place, but it's nothing that you absolutely need to use. And if you're a brand new player, this should be like one of the last traps you level up, in my opinion, and that's kind of just where it is. Let's see here. What's the next one that we got? So floor spikes again. That won't. I don't know. Let's see. Everybody's going A tier. I can see it. It definitely helps slowing enemies down. It does negligible amount of damage. It's so cheap to craft these things. Here, what does a floor trap even cost here? What is this? Yeah, duct tape and some twine and some planks. Super cheap. They're so cheap in my opinion that you might as well. In fact, you don't even need to use tier 5. Like I just showed that it takes carved twine. You can absolutely craft this 106 or 82 or whatever. It's still going to prick the feet of the enemies and slow them down. So A tier, I think that improves pretty much every tunnel. Wall spikes, not so much. This can help versus reflecting enemies' damage when they smack it. I know a lot of people put this on the inside of the builds in like a Retrieve the Data build or a Ride the Lightning build, for example, because this will actually reinforce your walls. Yeah, you can just use the 6 perk that increases the build health or heals attached. As of recording, heals attached builds has been broken for a long time. These videos are being scheduled, so when you're watching in the future, that might be fixed, but that is a viable strategy when it's functioning properly. Still, that's not really the trap being good, that's just this trap being cheap. So, yeah, I think B tier is fine. It'll help, but you don't need it. Wall launcher, I will honestly, okay, going off of my own words, I do not think this will improve every single trap setup ever, but in very specific use cases, it can be amazing. It can one-shot enemies by pushing them off the map or into death pits, and you can double the strength of your tunnel by pushing enemies back through. Not every tunnel can function that way with like a wall launcher helping. If you just got like a field of electric fields, it's just not going to do anything. I think A tier is super viable. It's situational. The wall launcher is not universally helpful, but it's excellent for when you have the right use case. Okay, so Wall Dynamo. I've been using this one a lot more recently. I'm leaning towards S tier, where it can actually improve every build. It can be energy or nature, so it's good in all missions if it's energy, and it's great in water missions if it's nature. It's got great perks, you know? It's, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't do a tremendous amount of damage. It helps every build. I'll put it in A tier. I would say this does improve every single trap tunnel in the world, pretty much, if you're trying to kill the enemies, that is. But it's not, like, essential to the build. I think A tier is perfectly fine. It's not a trap that you want to ignore forever. Wall darts, again. Okay, the community thinks S tier. Yeah, so this is very similar to the wall Dynamo, where it does great damage from the wall trap position, but this one's got 3 tile range. It is locked to physical, but the damage makes up for it. You're still doing hundreds of thousands when you crit, which happens fairly often. I think S tier is fair. Yeah, I mean, I'd be voting heavily against the grain, but I think you guys are right. This weapon trap, this trap does improve pretty much every tunnel. You can place it, everybody likes it and retrieve the data, because you've got the base in the middle, and then you've got a 3x3 area where people just put wall darts on like 2 on each corner and it'll secure the entire area. Very, very good trap. Tar pit, yeah, I think S tier is fair. S tier, not for damage. You know, that's the great thing about traps. There's a lot of finesse. You know, some of the best traps in the game, like the anti-air trap, don't even do damage. Okay, they do, but negligibly. You know what I mean? The tar trap is amazing because it's the one thing. If you're not using base Kyle, yeah, I think it's the one thing in the entire game that completely consistently stops smashers, and that applies to mini bosses as well. You put a tar trap down next to your base and it will go on cooldown. It's not an infinite fix, but it will stop a smasher when it's ready, and that's super useful. That will help your walls stay alive very, very much. Sound wall is something that helps when you think to use it. I don't know that it's essential. I've been slow to adapt it for years and years. I've kind of ignored it. A lot of people say it's S tier, and I'll explain why. If you use a sound wall, it can make propanes drop their propanes. So propane husks will not be blowing up your base nearly as much if you use sound walls. It's not a true perfect fix, and I haven't found it to be a cure-all. If you take advantage of it, it can improve pretty much every trap. I'm leaning towards A tier in the modern day, but you guys can see from the community vote that S tier might be a fair position for that trap. Retractable, okay. Endurance players might put this in S tier. I think the damage is great from what I've heard, but I hardly ever use it because floor traps should be floor freeze or floor spikes, in my opinion, or tar pits. Retractable spikes do pretty good slow physical damage, which is in a 1 tile range. It's not amazing. It'll help. I think B tier is fair. I think we're mostly on the same page with that one, but it's yeah, it's a B tier trap. I think that's where that should be. You know, you can use it if you want, but I don't know if it's essential to anything. Jump pad. So this one is going to be heavily influenced by player opinion. I think it's obsolete. In my upcoming updated trap tier list, I literally, you know what? What's my queue look like as of recording this? Okay, it's not live, so you guys haven't seen my updated opinion. I think it's like F tier. Mantling exists and ninjas exist, and a quick build can just get you where you need to be. I don't see any use case where this needs to be used anymore. I guess you can use it to like jump up and down so you don't get kicked for AFK, but it's really not, it's not doing anything unique anymore. So I think the jump pad has just, you know, after mantling exists, you know. Now, directional pad, completely different story. I don't use this nearly as much as I should, and that's just because I don't think about it. This is the fastest way to get around in Save the World, bar none. The Baron is super convenient, and we all use it for the same reason. It's instantly available, and it's a 42 movement speed bonus right there. It's great. 42% movement speed bonus is awesome. This trap, oh man, you can use like 4 of these to get across a flat map. It's that good. If you chain them together, you'll go further and further. Really, really, really good trap, S tier. If you take advantage of it, you'll be glad you did. Healing pads. Okay, everybody's saying S tier. This thing is almost a full heal in the 164 players if you got 4 healing perks on this. I'm talking with Blast from the Past too. Maybe not Blast from the Past, but at least with any other team perk, it's great. It's expensive. It can heal your whole team and it'll be there the whole game. You guys are putting it S tier. Yeah, honestly, I think every good trap build or base defense does have a healing pad around for the teammates, and it does an excellent job. It's expensive, but it'll heal you almost entirely to full, and that's super nice. What else do we got here? Floor launcher. I think that's right next to the wall launcher in usability. I don't see the S tier viability on this. I feel like the wall launcher is a lot more versatile. I've always seen the floor launcher as just a lesser wall launcher. You can push enemies up and then like angle a ramp to push them elsewhere. It can function like a wall launcher. It doesn't really stall smashers like it used to do back in the day. It used to send smashers way up in the air and kill them with fall damage. That tactic's gone. That can make it S tier in my opinion, I guess, but I think A tier is fine. It's got plenty of viability and usability nowadays, but it's nothing like it used to be. What do we got here? Floor freeze. Easy S tier. I think that improves pretty much every tunnel. It's expensive, yes, but it's expensive for a reason. This will freeze enemies in place, completely stopping them. If you use the directionality appropriately, where you're facing your defense or wherever you don't want them to go, wherever you're facing, they will stagger the opposite direction. So not only can it freeze enemies, but it can stall them back. Husky Husks are so slow that they will get permanently frozen on a floor freeze trap. They will never get through unless they're helped by another enemy, or if the floor freeze is triggered out of sequence or something. They pretty much will never get through. And that stalling alone makes this S tier in my opinion. But traps do, or every damage source does 25% more damage to frozen targets. So not only are you freezing, or in some instances perma-stalling an enemy, but you're doing extra damage while you're at it. I could not describe a better utility S tier trap. I love it. It does 0 damage, but definitely S tier. Definitely. Flame Grill. That's an easy F tier. Yeah. I have tried this in the modern day. I used to vote this F tier off of outdated knowledge. I took a second look. I leveled up a copy, made it crypt build, all gold perks, level 130. I wasn't about to supercharge it. I brought this into a nature zone with a full party of high-level players. We were ready to go, and this struggled versus normal enemies. Even when it crit, it was doing like a third of a Husky Husk. It has affliction damage over time, but it's not good. It's terrible. You should never use a Flame Grill. Literally, though, hey, I'll let the defender pad go to S tier. Literally, 1 damage bonus, one update buffing the damage of the Flame Grill trap could easily make it super viable, but it's not it. Defender pads are amazing, namely because of any defender, I guess, but sniper defenders. You give a sniper defender Obliterator or Blastron 9000. I've said that 100 times on this channel. It'll do great. I use Obliterators personally because they can be any element. They can shoot through walls, and Archer likes the Blastron 9000 because sniper defenders ignore the ability cooldown, or like the 6-perk cooldown. So it can send out like 7 projectiles. Let me show it maybe every 4 seconds or so. And that is, here, let's see if we can find it just to get the accurate number. 4 seconds sounds right. Blastron should be right here. I'm sorry, every 3 seconds. And cyber defenders actually ignore that. So every single time they crit, they'll activate that 6-perk, which is really, really good. I don't love that in energy cells. It's strong, but it's not me. I use Obliterators personally, and they're universal, omnidirectional, so they can just shoot anywhere in wherever their sight range, which is 12 tiles, or their hearing, which is 3 or 4 tiles. They'll shoot through the floor, any element, and the cyber defender is it's like an anti-air trap that actually does really good damage, and also helps against flingers. Super good. Defender pads, just because defenders are awesome. Easy S tier. Easy S tier. What do we got here? What's next up on the list here? Campfire. I think it's right next to Healing Trap. It will not heal you nearly as fast, and it will run out if you're not using it, so I can understand the A tier. However, because of the extremely cheap cost, here, let me just find it real quick here. If I go to the trap section, I've supercharged most of my traps. That's not really a rating. I already had it. There we go. I supercharged mine. Look at that. 2 twine. So you will heal faster if it's tier 5. That depends on how rich you are. Getting carved twine is really easy. If you run clip in the lead and hit a forest, you can fund enough campfires for a while. A tier I understand, but it's so cheap and easy to spam down. I put those down whenever I need health. Ceiling Zapper. I have recently tried to use this in regular missions. It has not impressed me. I know that specifically for endurance players, its damage is essential to certain builds. I don't play endurance, and I don't have a huge endurance fan base, I don't think. So I think most people are seeing this for normal missions, and yeah, I don't see any reason to use it. I've tried it. It's all right. I don't like gambling on nuking a smasher, and there are plenty of other ways to kill a smasher. Yeah, I think B tier's fine. B tier's fine. Gas Trap. I'm curious where the community puts this, because wow, a lot of our best traps are sitting right here. This is gonna be fun. Gas Trap, you guys are still saying S tier. Yeah, it needs help. If you put a floor freeze down, which you should already be using anyway, Gas Trap can be really amazing on top of it. It does excellent damage. It used to do affliction damage, so enemies would walk through, and then they'd take damage as they walk along. That's awesome. They nerfed the damage of this trap and affliction damage in a really short time frame. I don't remember if it was the same update or not, but even nowadays, if you use this with like a floor freeze, or if they're going up against your wall and they're smacking on your base, gas trap is a great final line of defense. And healing death burst. So sealing electric field is everybody's favorite. We'll see that in a second, but the sealing electric field hits once, and then a lot of enemies will just heal each other as soon as they die. The gas trap is like constant damage output when an enemy is frozen underneath, and it can do a lot of good long time damage output towards enemies that'll be healing. So it's nice in certain situations. I think S tier is fair. What do we got? Sealing electric field? Yeah, exactly. So this trap can be... All right, technically it's like a 3-tile range, but that's in a hemisphere, meaning its functional range is 2 tiles down in a 3x3 grid, which is huge as it is. If you put this 3 tiles up, then like the edge of the dome will be like right barely hitting the floor. Its effective range is 2 tiles up, which is safe from explosions, death bombs, whatever, safe from smashers. Nothing's going to mess with it except for lobbers and flingers, see anti-air trap and defenders. This trap can be energy, nature. I've supercharged 2 copies for that reason. Its damage is awesome. It's a great trap. I don't need to explain that too heavily. Everybody put it in S tier, but it's a trap you should always be using. Same with the tire trap. Yeah, so tire trap is locked to physical, but those tires can stall enemies in the exact same way as a floor freeze. If you are facing your objective, just place it facing your objective and it'll stumble them backwards. It's so effective, it will stumble enemies up a hill. I'm not even kidding. You get 2 or 3 of these chained together, enemies will go up. They will fight gravity. That's how good the tires are. And if you place this 3 tiles high, which you can do, it'll bounce up and down and up and down and up and down. It'll hit the same enemy multiple times, just like the broadside. Really, really good damage, even locked to physical, and it's really good at stalling, and it's up and high and out of the way where it's safe. Excellent trap. Broadside does S tier damage. However, most people, that's not true. That's negative. Many people in the community don't know how to use it. Every screenshot I see of this thing being like on the side of a wall shooting off into nothing just hurts. I'm gonna put it A tier. I'll explain myself in a second. It needs to have a wall facing the other side, and 2 broadsides facing each other is absolutely S tier damage. This thing is the fastest way to kill a mini boss that's trap vulnerable. However, because it needs that other wall, propanes, lobbers, flingers, smashers, exploding death bomb. You shouldn't be using an exploding death bomb anyway, but there are a lot of very regular situations where the wall that the broadside is facing gets destroyed. Now, you can trap in a way where smashers shouldn't be breaking your wall, but relying on Save the World's AI pathing is a risky business. Your broadsides, in my experience at least, even when I was playing smart, not just being lazy on stream, broadsides are not at full capacity for most of the mission. If you play it perfectly and I'm an idiot who doesn't know what he's saying, then fine. It's an S tier trap. I see what you're saying. But in a regular mission, as general advice, I think A tier is fine. The wall darts will keep their actual damage without all the hassle. But there you go. There's the community trap tier list. There's a little bit of differentiation between my votes and the communities. I think some people agree and disagree. That's always going to happen. But this is what the community thinks. Traps should be ranked. So yeah, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you guys want to see more, or if you ever want to be a part of this. Link down below to the more permanent tier list where you guys can all rate together. I'll see you guys in the next one.